1. We're taking a closer look at a 1985 Chevrolet C10 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic truck is priced at $25,000, and it's got some pretty sweet upgrades under the hood. First off, let's talk about the heart of this beast. It's got a 5.3 LS engine paired with a 4L60E transmission, which means it's got plenty of power and smooth shifting. The seller says it runs and drives great, so you can hop in and hit the road with confidence. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the exterior. The seller is upfront about the fact that the matte white paint job is a bit rough in some spots. It was apparently painted at home by the previous owners, so it's not a professional job. But hey, if you're looking for a project or just want a truck with some character, this could be a great option. Moving on to the interior, there's a lot to like here. The seller mentions that it's got a bunch of new parts, including door panels, carpet, headliner, and a bench seat. Plus, it's got some sweet Intralonics gauges in white and an aftermarket radio to keep you entertained on those long drives. One thing to note, the seller believes the components for heat are there but aren't hooked up, so you might need to do some tinkering if you want to stay warm in the colder months. This C10 is sitting on brand spankin' new 20X8, 5 Halabrand slotted wheels wrapped in Nitto NT 555G 2 tires. The seller says they've got less than 5 miles on them, so you'll be riding in style and with plenty of grip. 2. We're diving into a classic 1981 Chevy El Camino that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This unique ride is priced at $3,500, and it comes with a bonus, another El Camino for parts. Let's start with the main attraction. This 81 El Camino is powered by a 305 V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission. The seller says it runs well, which is a great starting point for any project car. However, they're upfront about the fact that it needs work, so be prepared to put in some elbow grease. Now let's talk about the overall condition. The seller rates it as fair, which means it's not a showroom-ready vehicle. The body and interior both need attention, so if you're looking for a pristine El Camino, this might not be the one for you. But if you're up for a restoration project and want to bring this classic back to its former glory, then keep reading. The seller mentions that the El Camino comes with a lot of new parts, which is a definite plus. They don't go into specifics in the ad, but they encourage potential buyers to call for more details. It's always good to have a head start on a project, and new parts can save you time and money in the long run. Now let's talk about that bonus parts car. The seller is including another El Camino in the deal, but it's important to note that it doesn't have an engine, transmission, or title. While it might not be road-ready, it could be a valuable source of parts for your restoration project. Just keep in mind that you'll need to figure out how to transport both vehicles. 3. We've got a real treat for you. A 1965 Chevrolet C10 that's looking for a new home. This beauty is priced at $5,500, and it's got a story to tell. First off, let's talk about the history of this truck. According to the seller, it's been a West Coast truck all its life. That means it's been soaking up that California sun and avoiding the harsh winters that can cause serious rust issues. The seller even goes as far as calling it a barn find without the barn, which is a pretty cool way to describe it. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. The seller rates the condition of this C10 as fair, which means it's not a perfect show truck, but it's got potential. They mention that there's no cancer rust, just some surface rust, which is a big plus for any classic vehicle. The chassis, differential, and struts are all said to be in great shape, so that's a solid foundation to build on. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 engine that turns over. That's a good sign, but the seller doesn't mention if it runs or drives, so you'll want to get some more info on that before making any big plans. The transmission is a 3-on-the-tree manual, which is a classic setup that adds to the vintage cool factor of this truck. One thing to note is that the odometer is broken, so the actual mileage is unknown. That's not uncommon for a vehicle of this age, but it's something to keep in mind when considering the overall condition and value. 4. We've got a real gem for you. A stunning 1980 GMC Sierra 4X4 that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. This classic beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist, and it could be yours for just $7,500. First off, let's talk about the color. This truck is rocking a bold royal blue paint job that's sure to stand out from the crowd. It's the kind of color that screams, "Look at me," in all the right ways. And with its lifted body and oversized mud-claw tires, this Sierra has a seriously aggressive stance that's perfect for off-road adventures or just cruising around town. Now let's pop the hood and see what's powering this beast. Under the hood, you'll find a V8 engine that's ready to rumble. The seller doesn't specify the exact specs, but trust me, you'll feel the power as soon as you hit the gas. And with a newly rebuilt automatic transmission, you can be sure that this truck will shift smoothly and reliably. But that's not all. The seller has made some other key upgrades to ensure that this Sierra is ready to roll. There's a new alternator to keep the electrical system in top shape, a new battery to ensure reliable starting, and a new transfer case seal to keep things running smoothly. They've even thrown in a new wiper motor, so you can keep your windshield clear no matter what the weather throws at you. If you're planning on using this truck for towing, you'll be happy to know that it comes with 2 different ball hitches. That means you can tackle just about any towing job with ease. 5. We've got a real treat for you. A 1974 Chevy K20 that's ready to tackle any job you throw at it. This classic 3/4 ton pickup is up for grabs on Craigslist, and it could be yours for just $7,000. First off, let's talk about the specs. This K20 is a long bed model, which means you've got plenty of room to haul whatever you need. It's powered by a 350 engine that's paired with an automatic transmission, so you can expect smooth shifting and plenty of power. And with full-time hubs and 4x4 capability, this truck is ready to take on even the toughest terrain. The seller rates the condition of this K20 as good, which is a promising sign. They mention that it's got new tires, which is a big plus. After all, you don't want to be stuck on the side of the road with a flat. The odometer reads just 79,000 miles, which is relatively low for a truck of this age. Of course, as with any classic vehicle, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection before making a purchase. Now let's talk about some of the cool features that set this K20 apart. It's got a sliding back window, which is perfect for those nice summer days when you want to let some fresh air in. The custom grille adds a touch of personality to the front end, while the step bumper and Class 3 hitch receiver make it easy to tow whatever you need. And if you need some extra storage space, this truck comes with an aluminum canopy that's perfect for keeping your gear dry and secure. 6. We've got something really special for you. A 1977 Ford F-150 that's a true blast from the past. This original classic is up for grabs on Craigslist, and it could be yours for $19,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty penny for an old truck. But trust me, this isn't just any old F-150. This is a rare gem that's been lovingly maintained and kept in original condition, both inside and out. The seller rates the condition as excellent, and based on the description, it's easy to see why. Under the hood, you'll find a Ford 390 V8 engine that starts easy and runs strong. The seller mentions that the truck has been professionally serviced, and they even have the maintenance records to prove it. That's a big plus in my book. It shows that this F-150 has been well cared for over the years. One thing that really sets this truck apart is its history. The seller mentions that it's a rust-free Montana truck that's always been stored indoors. That means you don't have to worry about any nasty surprises lurking beneath the surface. And speaking of surface, check out that custom paint job. It's a real head-turner that's sure to get you noticed wherever you go. Inside the cab, you'll find an 8-track tape deck that's just begging for you to break out your old collection. And if you want to add a little extra rumble to your ride, the seller has installed a newer Edelbrock carburetor and a louder muffler. It's the perfect combination of classic style and modern performance. 7. We've got a real survivor for you. A 1966 Ford F-100 short bed that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This vintage beauty could be yours for just $10,500. And let me tell you, it's got a lot of character. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller doesn't give an overall rating, but they do mention that it needs a little TLC. That's not surprising for a truck that's over 50 years old, but the good news is that there's no rust. That's a big deal for any classic vehicle, and it's especially impressive for a truck that spent its whole life in California. Under the hood, you'll find a V8 360 engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. The seller mentions that it runs and drives, which is always a good sign. And with power steering, this F100 should be a breeze to maneuver, even with its classic proportions. One thing that really caught my eye is the original patina on this truck. For those who don't know, patina refers to the natural aging and weathering that occurs on a vehicle's surface over time. Some people prefer a shiny, restored look, but there's something really cool about a truck that wears its history on its sleeve. This F100 has plenty of patina, and it gives it a ton of character and charm. Another nice feature is the aluminum camper shell that comes with the truck. If you're looking to do some camping or just want some extra storage space, this is a great addition. Plus, it looks really cool and adds to the vintage vibe of the truck. 8. We've got a real beauty for you. A 1972 Chevy C10 stepside that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. This vintage pickup is up for grabs on Craigslist, and it could be yours for $30,000. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a pretty penny for an old truck. But trust me, this isn't just any old C10. The seller rates the condition as excellent, and based on the description, it's easy to see why. First off, let's talk about the history of this truck. It's a Georgia truck with no rust, which is a big deal for any classic vehicle. The seller mentions that it's been in Minnesota for the past 3 years, but it's been stored indoors every winter and never driven in the rain. That means you don't have to worry about any nasty surprises lurking beneath the surface. Under the hood, you'll find a 454 big block motor that's paired with a turbo 353-speed transmission. The seller mentions that the mileage on the engine and carburetor is unknown, but it starts right up with just a few pumps of the gas pedal. And while it's not a hot rod, the motor is still strong and reliable. One thing that really sets this C10 apart is the attention to detail in the restoration. The seller has receipts for all the big-ticket items, and everything has just 3,200 miles on it. That includes the matte black paint job, the rebuilt rear end with 373 gears, the vintage AC that blows cold, power steering and brakes, and so much more. 9. We've got a real gem for you. A 1963 Chevrolet C10 Deluxe cab pickup with a big rear window. This vintage beauty is up for grabs on Craigslist, and it could be yours for just $6,500. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller rates it as good, which is a promising sign for a truck that's nearly 60 years old. They mention that it runs and drives well, going straight down the road with good brakes. That's always a plus when you're dealing with a classic vehicle. Under the hood, you'll find a 283 V8 engine that's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. There's just something about a manual transmission in an old truck that feels so right, don't you think? It adds to the vintage charm and makes driving this C10 a real experience. Now let's talk about the body. The seller mentions that the truck was repainted in the 70s, which gives it a cool, retro look. The interior is all original, which is a real selling point for collectors who value authenticity. However, the seller does note that there is some rust on both sides of the hood where water drains. It's not uncommon for old trucks to have some rust issues, but it's something to keep in mind if you're looking for a perfect, show-quality vehicle. The bed of the truck needs to be redone, which could be a fun project for someone who enjoys working on their vehicles. It's a long bed, which means you'll have plenty of room to haul whatever you need. 10. We've got a real project for you. A 1973 Chevrolet C10 Cheyenne super long bed pickup that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This vintage beauty could be yours for just $7,250, and while it needs some work, it's got a ton of potential. First off, let's talk about the engine. This C10 is powered by a factory 350 V8 with a 4-bolt main truck block. The original block was rebuilt, with the bottom end machined and assembled by Coconino Auto. It's now .020 over and just barely broken in. The top end of the motor has some sweet upgrades, including Speedmaster small runner aluminum heads, high lift rocker arms, a Way-In Street Warrior dual plane intake, an Edelbrock carb, and vintage Mickey Thompson valve covers. The seller estimates the compression at around 9.1, and with ported stock exhaust manifolds and dual exhaust, this thing should sound amazing. The transmission is the original 3-speed Muncie M330 heavy-duty unit, with the original 3-on-the-tree column shifter. The seller thinks the rear end is a 3.73 open 12-bolt corporate unit, and the drive shaft has new U-joints. The truck also has an aluminum radiator and a stock water pump. Now let's talk about the suspension. This C10 has new rear leaf springs and shocks, as well as a new front end with all new ball joints, control arm bushings, coil springs, sway bar links and bushings, and KYB shocks. That means it should ride and handle like a dream. The seller mentions that the power steering pump was cleaned and the alternator checked when the engine was out. The AC pump hasn't been connected since they've owned it, and the clutch is sticky, so the system might work, but it's not guaranteed. The wipers work, but the washers don't. 11. We're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist. Get ready to feast your eyes on a 1966 Chevy C10 stepside that's sure to make your heart race. First things first, let's talk about the price. This vintage gem is being offered at $6,700, which seems like a pretty sweet deal considering its excellent condition. That's right, folks. The seller has described this truck as being in top-notch shape, and from what we can see, it looks like they're not exaggerating. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 327 SBC engine that's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. This combination is sure to provide an exhilarating driving experience that'll make you feel like you've traveled back in time. The seller mentions that the truck is running perfectly and is incredibly reliable, so you can trust that this C10 is ready to hit the road whenever you are. One of the standout features of this truck is its ram horns exhaust, which adds a touch of vintage coolness to an already impressive package. And if you're worried about safety, don't be. The seller has installed new brakes all around, ensuring that you can stop on a dime whenever you need to. As for the aesthetics, this 1966 Chevy C10 is a true head-turner. It's sporting a sleek black paint job that's sure to make you the envy of every car show you attend. And if that wasn't enough to make you fall in love, the truck also comes with classic California black and yellow license plates that add to its authentic, old-school vibe. 12. We've got a real treat for you. A stunning 1970 Chevrolet C10 pickup that's sure to make your jaw drop. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist, and let me tell you, it's an opportunity you won't want to miss. First things first, let's talk about the price. At $25,000, this C10 is definitely an investment, but trust me when I say it's worth every penny. The seller describes the condition as like new, and based on the photos and description, I'm inclined to believe them. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 350 V8 engine that's been upgraded with an Edelbrock high-rise manifold and a 4-barrel carburetor. This combination is sure to provide plenty of power and a thrilling driving experience. Plus, with an automatic transmission, power steering, and front power disc brakes, this truck is as easy to drive as it is fun. Now let's talk about the body. The seller mentions that it's super straight and the paint is nearly flawless. The chrome and glass are also said to be in excellent condition, which is a testament to how well this truck has been cared for over the years. It's clear that the previous owners have put a lot of love and attention into maintaining this classic beauty. One of the best things about this C10 is that it's not just a pretty face, it's also reliable and ready to drive anywhere. The seller states that they have a clean title in hand, so you can feel confident in your purchase. And with just 91,344 miles on the odometer, this truck has plenty of life left in it. 13. We've got a real gem to share with you. A beautifully restored 1976 Chevrolet pickup that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. If you're in the market for a classic truck that's been brought back to its former glory, this might just be the one for you. Let's start with the price. At $29,500, this Chevy pickup is definitely on the higher end of the spectrum. But when you consider the work that's gone into restoring it, it's clear that this is a fair asking price. The seller describes the condition as excellent, and based on the photos and description, I'm inclined to agree. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's sure to provide plenty of power and torque. And with 4-wheel drive, this truck is ready to tackle any terrain you throw at it. Whether you're looking to use it as a daily driver or take it off-road for some adventures, this Chevy pickup is up for the task. Now, let's talk about the restoration. The seller mentions that this truck has undergone a complete restoration, which is evident in the stunning yellow paint job and overall pristine condition of the vehicle. It's clear that no expense was spared in bringing this classic back to life, and the result is a truck that looks and runs like it just rolled off the assembly line. One thing to note is that the odometer has rolled over, which means the actual mileage is likely higher than the 15,000 miles shown. However, given the extensive restoration work, this shouldn't be a major concern. The seller also mentions that the truck runs great, so you can feel confident in its mechanical condition. 14. We're taking a closer look at a classic 1978 Ford F-250 that's currently for sale on Craigslist. If you're in the market for a vintage pickup with plenty of character, this might just be the one for you. First off, let's talk about the price. At $8,000, this F-250 is definitely priced to sell. While it's not the cheapest truck on the market, it's certainly a fair asking price for a classic vehicle with this much history and potential. Now let's dive into the details. The seller describes the condition of the truck as good, which is a positive sign. However, it's important to note that there is a rusted hole in the driver's side floor, which is something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer. The seller is upfront about this issue, which is appreciated and shows that they're being transparent about the vehicle's condition. Under the hood, you'll find a gas-powered engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. The seller mentions that the truck runs well, which is always a good sign when buying a classic vehicle. With 154,000 miles on the odometer, this F-250 has certainly seen its fair share of adventures, but it still has plenty of life left in it. Moving on to the interior, the seller notes that it's clean, which is a definite plus. There's also a spare tire included, which is a nice bonus, and shows that the seller has taken care of the truck over the years. 15. We've got a real treat for you. A stunning 1960 Ford F-100 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. If you're in the market for a vintage pickup that's been updated with modern amenities, this might just be the one for you. First off, let's talk about the price. At $17,000, this F-100 is definitely an investment. But when you consider all the upgrades and modifications that have been made, it's clear that this is a fair asking price. The seller is also open to reasonable offers, which is always a good sign. Now let's dive into the details. This F-100 is a rare big window model, which is a highly sought-after feature among collectors. Under the hood, you'll find a newer 351 Cleveland motor that's paired with a C4 transmission, headers, and a 9-inch rear end. This combination is sure to provide plenty of power and a thrilling driving experience. But that's not all. This truck has also been updated with modern conveniences like power steering, electric ignition, and front disc brakes. The electrical system has also been updated, which is a huge plus when it comes to reliability and ease of maintenance. Moving on to the exterior, this F-100 has been undercoated and finished in a sleek black paint job that looks absolutely stunning. The custom tailgate removal adds a unique touch and really makes this truck stand out from the crowd. And with American racing wheels, this pickup has a classic yet modern look that's sure to turn heads wherever you go. 16. We've got a real beauty to share with you. A 1971 Chevrolet C10 that's currently for sale on Craigslist. If you're in the market for a vintage pickup that's been well maintained and updated with modern parts, this might just be the one for you. First off, let's talk about the price. At $19,500, this C10 is definitely an investment. But when you consider the condition and all the newer parts that have been added, it's clear that this is a fair asking price. The seller mentions that there are too many newer parts to list, which is a great sign that this truck has been well taken care of. Now, let's dive into the details. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 383 stroker engine with just 40,000 miles on it. This engine is sure to provide plenty of power and a thrilling driving experience. The seller also mentions that the truck runs great and starts up every time, which is a testament to its reliability and dependability. Moving on to the exterior, This C10 is finished in a sleek black paint job that looks absolutely stunning. The seller mentions that the truck looks good both inside and out, which is always a good sign when buying a classic vehicle. And with new tires that were just installed in March 2025, you can feel confident that this truck is ready to hit the road. Inside the cab, you'll find an interior that's in good condition and has been well maintained over the years. The seller doesn't go into too much detail about the interior, but based on the photos and overall description, it's clear that this truck has been cared for both inside and out. 17. We've got a classic 1980 Chevy El Camino up for grabs on Craigslist. If you're in the market for a vintage ride that's part car, part truck, and all cool, this might just be the one for you. First things first, let's talk about the price. At $10,000, this El Camino is definitely an investment. But when you consider its classic status and the work that's been put into it, it's clear that this is a fair asking price. Now let's dive into the details. Under the hood, you'll find a 305 engine that's been fitted with a new carburetor. This is a great sign, as a new carburetor can help improve the vehicle's overall performance and reliability. The seller doesn't mention anything about the engine's condition beyond this, so it's always a good idea to ask for more details or even request a test drive before making a final decision. Moving on to the mileage, this El Camino has just 99,430 miles on the odometer. While this may seem like a lot, it's actually relatively low for a vehicle that's over 40 years old. It's a testament to the durability and longevity of these classic Chevy models. Unfortunately, the seller doesn't provide much information about the overall condition of the vehicle. They don't mention anything about the exterior, interior, or any other potential issues or upgrades. This is where it's important to do your due diligence as a buyer and ask for more details, photos, or even an in-person inspection before making an offer. 18. We've got a real workhorse of a vehicle up for grabs on Craigslist. A 1972 Chevrolet C10 that's been lovingly maintained and upgraded over the past 14 years. If you're in the market for a vintage pickup that's built to last, this might just be the one for you. First off, let's talk about the price. At $6,500, this C10 is definitely priced to sell. When you consider all the work and maintenance that's gone into this truck over the years, it's clear that this is a fair asking price for a vehicle with this much history and character. Now let's dive into the details. The seller has owned this C10 since June 2011 and has put in a substantial amount of work to keep it running strong. They mention that the vehicle maintenance performed over the years is in excess of $18,000, which is a testament to their commitment to keeping this truck on the road. One of the major upgrades to this C10 is the Mr. Goodwrench 350 long block engine, which was installed in September 2015. With just 19,000 miles on this new motor and a new two-barrel carburetor, you can feel confident that this truck has plenty of power and reliability under the hood. It's also worth noting that the vehicle has been tuned to run at higher than sea level elevation, which is a great feature for those living in mountainous areas. Another major upgrade is the rebuilt Turbo 353-speed automatic transmission, which was installed in May 2015 and has just 20,000 miles on it. This is a great sign that the seller has taken care of the drivetrain and has invested in keeping this truck running smoothly. 19. We've got a real gem to share with you. A 1985 Chevrolet Silverado that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. If you're in the market for a classic pickup that's rust-free and ready to roll, this might just be the one for you. First off, let's talk about the price. At $10,000, this Silverado is definitely an investment. But when you consider the condition and all the upgrades that have been made, it's clear that this is a fair asking price. The seller even mentions that this truck could be driven as is or turned into a show-stopping ride, which speaks to its potential. Now let's dive into the details. This Silverado is a C20 model with a long bed and two-wheel drive, making it a versatile and practical choice for any truck lover. Under the hood, you'll find a new 350 engine with just 20,000 miles on it, which is a great sign that this truck has plenty of life left in it. The automatic transmission is also a nice touch, making it easy to drive and enjoy. Moving on to the exterior, the seller mentions that this Silverado is rust-free and has very few dents, which is impressive for a truck of this age. The white paint job looks clean and classic, and the chrome accents add a touch of shine. The bed floor, wheel wells, and tailgate are all in excellent condition, which is a testament to how well this truck has been cared for over the years. Inside the cab, you'll find power windows, a tilt steering wheel, and a good seat and door panels. The original radio is still in place and works perfectly, which is a nice touch of nostalgia. The dash is uncut, which is a rare find in a classic truck like this. 20. Let me tell you about this absolute gem I just stumbled upon. A 1963 Chevrolet CK10 pickup that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $13,900. This classic beauty is rocking a clean blue paint job that'll turn heads wherever you go. It's got a manual transmission for all you purists out there who love to really feel connected to your ride. The seller, 505 Motorsports, says it's in good condition, and they've got a solid reputation for quality used cars. Now I gotta be real with you. I haven't seen this truck in person, so I can't vouch for every little detail. But from what I can tell, it seems like a sweet deal for a piece of American automotive history. The clean title is definitely a plus, and the fact that it's listed as Other for fuel could mean it's got some interesting mods under the hood. If you're in the Farmington, New Mexico area, it might be worth swinging by 505 Motorsports to check this bad boy out. They're known for their customer service, so even if this particular CK10 isn't your cup of tea, they might have something else that'll tickle your fancy.